Often, a professional will only need a piece of gear for a day or two to complete an assignment, and then never need it again. If that's the case, rental is the answer. Ken Hansen Photographic is a professionally oriented camera store in New York, and although the store caters to the professional, even amateurs eager to try out an unusual piece of equipment sometimes find their way to Hansen's.
People that rent equipment, as we know, are either people that simply don't have the money to buy a very expensive piece of equipment, or it's people that are uncertain if the equipment is right for their purposes. So our policies of renting equipment is rather simplified. We do not require any collaterals. We do require, if we don't know the people, some sort of identification like driver's license or credit cards, but basically the rentals, the way we handle them, is very, very simple. It's in and out. You can rent from us anything that's in sight, regardless of its cost, within 3 minutes and you're out. So a person that gets an emergency call and has to shoot something, first of all, he will find it with us, in most cases at least. In second case, he doesn't have to waste any time, make reservations and wait and wait and wait.
When World of Photography asked Hansen to demonstrate one of his more unusual lenses, he was happy to oblige, except with a minimum focusing distance of 40 feet, he had to bring this lens out onto the streets.
We have a 1000 millimeter 5.6 mirror lens of highest quality. It's perhaps, well, I believe it is the only lens of that focal length at that speed on the market. As I said, the quality is exceptionally good, and it's a lens that's obviously being used on very infrequent use, highly specialized, perhaps someone shooting the space shot, or anything that's required, involves a very, very long distance from camera to object at a relatively fast speed. Again, for a mirror optics, this lens is exceptional quality. The value of the lens is currently $40,000. A person that wants to rent it can rent it for about $200 a day, or roughly $600 per week.
Had Hansen been looking through a 50 millimeter lens, this is the scene he would have viewed. But a 1000 millimeter lens puts a whole new perspective on things. And speaking of a new perspective, here's a look through a very specialized lens.
The 210mm f1.2 N Miratar is a special optics designed for surveillance work. This lens will perform well under almost no light available. It can be used under ordinary lighting conditions, in which case one will have to actually protect the front element and use pinholes in order to get a picture. The lens is being used by FBI, CIA, and other law enforcement agencies. It's being used by spies. It's being used by people that need to take photographs where the lighting is exceptionally poor. The lens actually has a light intensifier built in, which creates the image. For an amateur, we do recommend rentals, again, for equipment that they will have very infrequent use, mainly very long or very short lenses.
I want to discuss briefly the use of accessories on a large flash head. Light control accessories basically control what you do with the light, how you shape it and where it goes. We're going to deal in this segment with barn doors, angle reducing rings, grid spots for diffusing and softening the edges, and a simple gel application to this flash head. In order to do that, we're going to have to kill the lights in this location to demonstrate on the background what we're up to. The important factor to remember is this flash head, if you cover any flash head with accessories, it must be fan cooled, otherwise it'll overheat. So we've turned the fan on, the basic modeling light has been turned on, and our first effect will be demonstrating grid spots and their effect. The grid spot holder snaps very quickly and firmly to the front of the flash head. There are 3 grid spots in this Dynalite set of grids: a very fine grid, a medium grid, and a broad grid. I'll demonstrate the fine grid so you can see on the background exactly what we're talking about. We have shaved the light down considerably, softened the edges, and maintained a hot spot in the center. It's a product photography control, has some use in portraiture, and it helps you light your backgrounds and edges a little more creatively. I might mention that there are 3 sets of grids available for you to choose from. There are the Dynalite Grids. Balcar makes grid sets, and so does Comet at this point, that you could choose from to work on various flash head systems. Another useful light control accessory is an angle reducing ring. Angle reducing rings will snap on a Dynalite flash head and effectively cut the coverage of that light by about half. It'll also give you a harder edge of that circle of light, unlike the grid spot diffusers. If you want to cut the light angle further, just add another angle reducing ring. An additional light control accessory that every photographer should have in their lighting kit is a set of barn doors. Barn doors snap onto Dynalite flash heads in a conventional manner. What they do is create shapes of light or slivers of light that are controllable by you, the photographer, on the location that you're working in. Your basic barn door